Alright, welcome back to the second part of my 2v2 battle with VW Marshal. Here I think the American made a bit of a rash move. He charged his light dragoons all the way into a melee with some of Marshal's line infantry. Took some unnecessary losses there, but we're glad to get what we can at this point in the battle because it's going to be very close. So if you haven't watched the first part of the battle, I suggest you go back and do so, or else you're going to be lost up to this point. Here's those long rifles still in the fight, but not for long. And again, to show you what's going on my side, nothing. But I'm moving my forces once again. All I'm trying to do is attempt to provoke my Prussian opponent into making some mistakes. But we were playing against very good opponents, probably some of the best that I've played in a long time, and they weren't taking the bait, which is smart. Always got to be careful. Try and think what your opponent's doing. It's kind of like a game of chess, I guess. I have to admit, though, the whole time I was worried because he has more skirmishers, and he has them spread out and has me outflanked. So honestly, I was just afraid that at any moment my opponent would attack and leave me in ruin. But fortunately, he didn't. Alright, the American over here only has 2 heavily depleted units of long rifles here. And let's go get the view from Marshal's side. Here's his rifles reloading. I'm gonna take some more shots. I like the cool little hats they have. Kind of reminds me of Rome Total War. But in any case, the skirmishing went on for a long time in this battle. It was pretty much the key point. But it's not so exciting to watch. So I'm going to cut off and come back when we get into some more intense fighting. Alright, now comes my favorite part of every battle, and that's when it gets down to the line infantry fight. I just find the line infantry fight to be a lot more interesting. As you can see, Marshal's Dutch line is exchanging fire with the American line. I'm using my cavalry to try and disrupt his line and give his men an opportunity to get more hits in on their opponents, and this also prevents the Americans from reloading or returning fire until they get lined back up and get in position. And also right here, the American player had his Marines chase my cavalry out, which takes them out of position, and that's good. That's basically the whole point of using the distracting tactics. This side of the line hasn't quite opened up firing yet, but on this side of the line, Marshal's doing very well, especially because of that little cavalry help there. As you can see, those Marines just took some devastating blows, and they're going to bug out of that fight. There's nothing happening on my side yet. Out here, the remnants of Marshal's cavalry are duking it out with the little bit of cavalry that the American player has left, and he's sending some line to assist. Alright, we're back to the battle on my side. I ended up skipping the end of the line infantry battle on Marshal's side. So let me show you some of what took place now that there's actually action on my side of the battle. Here my opponent charges his 2 2nd Hussars into my light dragoons, and I was hoping that I'd get better volleys off before they got here, but I didn't. So my light dragoons are doomed, but I have my horse guards in this fight, and they're a lot better in a melee than these Hussars, and so they're going to win this fight. The one thing that worries me is that he's brought up a unit of line infantry from behind and begun firing. However, I think that's going to do just as much damage to his horses as it will to mine. So in answer to this, I've also brought up a unit of line infantry to chase his out. But one annoying thing is my opponent has this unit of Prussian Jaegers out here, and I don't really have a unit of green jackets to spare, so to speak, because I'm outnumbered on the main line. In fact, skirmishing on my main line has begun. I really hate skirmishing. It's kind of a boring part of the battle to me. I wish that we could just get down to business, to be honest. But that's never the way it works. Unless you're playing Rome Total War and you're using rush armies, but that's pretty risky. So, there's my green jackets trying to take care of business. And there still hasn't been any skirmishing here in the center. As you can see, Marshal's pretty much got the American defeated. Just let you have that view. Let's get back out here to see what's happening. This battle out here on the flank was kind of the focus for my opponent and I, and became kind of crucial to the outcome. I'm gonna skip out on part of this. It's just a cavalry fighting for a while, and I'll come back when you can see some decisive action. Alright, this is just a bit later. My opponent's trying desperately to collapse my left flank, but he really can't get one up on me out here. One of my units of line infantry is pretty beat up from an earlier fight, but the problem for him is that his opponent or his ally has been defeated, and or at least mostly defeated, and so Marshal is now putting pressure on him, and so he doesn't have any line infantry to face me in the center. I'm just keeping my line there to protect my skirmishers should he try something. So I have all the units I need basically to transfer to my flanks. And as you can see, because of that, he doesn't really have any hope of defeating me on the flank. Prussian line and British line seems to be a pretty close match. Both of them are quite good. And as I fought in this battle, his line held out pretty well, just 1 for 1 with mine. But right here you can see I'm moving this line into flanking position. He's about to take flanking fire, and that's going to end up routing his men. So with this battle, the key points was the initial skirmish on Marshal's side, and because our opponents didn't bring, they spent more money on skirmishers and less money on cavalry, and because they had less cavalry, they weren't as capable of defending their larger number of skirmishers. And Marshal and I were able to use our cavalry successfully to defeat their larger number of skirmishers. In fact, let me show you out here. I had just some ragtag remnants of cavalry and was able to use it to rout many of his units of Jaegers. And so, as I said in the beginning, I was outnumbered, but here you can see that I defeated his Jaegers, except for this one unit here, and that was because of my cavalry superiority. There, my opponent's last bit of flanking force has been routed. His general's bodyguard is running up here, attempting desperately to do something, but they're not going to be able to do any good. So my opponent really doesn't have anything left. This battle's pretty much over. I'm going to fast forward to the ending parts and get you the results screen. Alright, well here's basically the last stand of my opponent. I'm now boxing him in. He's got line on either side. He doesn't have much left. He played very well. This was a very close battle, even though it may look like I have a ton of troops left. Let me go ahead and give you my ideas on what went our way and what our opponents could have done better, I think. It doesn't necessarily make it true, but that's what I think. I believe our opponents, they worked together okay. They formed together and they faced us together. What I think that my opponent should have done was he should have attacked me with his superior skirmishing numbers, and I think that because of his superior skirmishing numbers he could have caused me a great deal of damage and held my attention so that I couldn't help Marshal win the skirmishing fight on his side. Whenever Marshal won that skirmishing fight on his side, it definitely turned the battle into our favor, because the American had to come and attack Marshal in order to keep his line from being destroyed at range. So, as I said, I think our opponents should have both attacked at the same time, and because of their superior skirmishing numbers, it would have put Marshal and I in a little bit worse situation. So in any case, you can see our opponents' names there. We have A and V, General Green, and A and V looks like MK and GHBRS. Anyway, you can see our kills here and our losses, and let me just say good game to all who were involved. It was very fun. It was a very long battle, as you can tell by all the footage here. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll get to play some fun battles like this yourself on Empire.